Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this ClickShare Spring Release 2024. We're happy to welcome you to walk you through all the new things that we have in store for you. Bear in mind that this Spring Release webinar covers the base unit firmware 2.19, the desktop app release 4.35 and 4.36, and the XMS Cloud 2.19. Now, what is it that we have in store for you? In the next slide, I will quickly go over what's new in a nutshell, and then I will hand it over to the product management team, who will talk about the new app interface phase-in, the Microsoft partnership update, and we also have some time for Q&A. So, what do we have for you? In a nutshell, it can be split in two buckets. On the one hand side, we have enhanced the end user experience. So we'll walk you through the smart meeting flow improvements. We will show you how to do the long press takeover in the new UI. There's also some ClickShare Bar improvements. You can enable automatic microphone sensitivity, and there's some changes in the on-screen ID. In the other bucket, we cover how the life of the IT admin will be made easier thanks to this new software release. We will talk about the fast registration in XMS and also talk about the ClickShare Bar video settings. So that is in a nutshell, a short recap slide, what we will be covering in today's webinar. I'm handing it over now to Gauthier, who will start talking about the enhanced end user experience.
Thank you, Frauke. Welcome, everybody, also from my side. So let's talk about the end user experience. Now, one of the things that we focused on in this release is surrounding what we called host flow and smart meeting flows. What are these? Well, it's when you install the ClickShare desktop app on your PC and when you're hosting a call from your laptop, we can enhance the in-room experience by, for example, putting the people next to the content on the meeting room screen. All of this from your own PC, of course. Now, by doing this host flow, by putting or sharing at least a Teams client without sharing contents, we are creating a bit of a, let's say, a friction with the end user where he doesn't really know what's going on. To solve this or to mediate for this, we have added two states to the button states where previously the button would be red when you are sharing content in the room. It will now turn purple when you are in this host flow capability and you're just sharing the Teams or the Zoom window to the main meeting room. If additionally you are sharing content both in the room and remotely, the LED state of the button will show both red and purple. This, of course, to make it clearer, to make it more obvious to the end user what is going on his PC and with the meeting room system. Talking about host flow, we have taking some time to change a slide. So host flow is something that we have enabled since a while now for Microsoft Teams systems or clients on your PC. In beta, we also supported Zoom clients, and this is now moving out of beta. So for those who are surprised or who hear beta or that we have a beta program for the very first time, note that in the ClickShare client, especially when you install it on your PC, you can actually enroll for the beta program through the ClickShare app itself. Capabilities such as this one then get shown or are available in preview a little bit earlier than when we make it available for the broader public. So one of the things that we're moving to the broader public now is the support for Zoom clients with the host flow. So now, just like with Teams clients, you can now have people next to content on the main display. One more thing that we focused on for the host flow is that when you run host flow on your PC and you are doing this with a Teams client, sometimes the detection wasn't as perfect as we want it to be, especially in some instances of the Teams 2.0 client. And I would say especially when you had the live team on your PC, detection would sometimes not happen. We have worked very hard on this topic and we're very proud that we can release this big improvement. This is really going to make a big difference to those who are using these capabilities. Now, in the new ClickShare app, we have also been working. This is an app, and I'm going to get back to that in a bit later in the presentation. But this is an app that's already available in preview. It shows you a larger UI with a little bit more functionality, or at least it makes it a little bit more clear. And one of the functions that was missing in that UI was the long press. As you may know, when you long press, so 2 seconds or longer, the ClickShare button or a window in the old app, you would take over the screen, meaning you would kick off anyone else who is presenting on the screen, and your content would be the only content on the main display. So now this capability is also available in the new ClickShare app UI. Talking further about the ClickShare UI, especially when you use the ClickShare app in combination with one of the new ClickShare bars, so the ClickShare Bar Core and the ClickShare Bar Pro, you will now have at your disposal a number of controls so that you can control the framing mode as well as the peripheral status of the bar. We're talking about muting and unmuting the bar, changing the volume, and changing the framing mode applicable or applied on the bar. I do have to note that these are end user controls, and that these controls or changes that are applied through the ClickShare app get reset every time somebody leaves the room and a new meeting starts. So whatever settings you apply in the admin setup of the bar will be reverted to after each meeting, so that every end user finds the room in the same state as the previous one. Going further, and here we're talking especially ClickShare conference base units, so CX20, CX30, CX50, and CX50 Gen 2, where a number of UC platforms such as Teams and Zoom are capable of changing the microphone volume of the peripheral, if the peripheral supports it, of course. And today this was something that was not transmitted through the ClickShare system. By enabling this and by allowing this messaging, or at least this capability, to be passed through, the ClickShare, at least the Teams app and the Zoom app, can optimize the volume of the in-room speakers, let's say, at least of what is picked up by the microphone, in order to optimize the meeting experience for the remote participants. So now we have enabled this on the ClickShare base units. Of course, this only works with peripherals that also support it, and the list of these peripherals was on the previous slide, which you will also find back once we share the slide and the recording to you. Next up, more space for your messaging. Now, since a while, we have enabled tools such as changing the wallpaper, customizing the wallpaper, but also digital signage. And sometimes people didn't really appreciate the fact that we put a message box on top of that wallpaper of our content. So in the 2.19 release, you will find a new setting in the web configurator and on XMS either now or very soon, where you can hide that information box and revert it or minimize it into the messaging bar, which is at the bottom of the screen. Note that this setting will be applied by default when you run digital signage on your ClickShare device. Continuing with the LED state of the bar. As you know, the ClickShare bar has a very nice round LED surrounding the camera, and we have changed the state of this LED ring to show or showcase the state of the peripheral and not the state of the base unit, sorry. Which means that when the LED ring is white, it means that the device is turned on and potentially even sharing content. When the LED ring is red, it means that the microphone is muted, so that whatever you say in the room cannot be heard remotely. When the LED ring turns purple, it means that the peripherals, either one of the peripherals, is being used. So that's either the camera, the microphone, or the speakers. So whenever the peripheral, the bar, is in use, the LED will turn purple. To show end users that something is happening and to give them the confidence when pressing the ClickShare button, when you start sharing, the LED will be spinning purple and red to indicate that something is going on and that some changes are to be expected. When you're pairing the button, the LED ring will flash green, as you can see in the image. So new LED states for the ClickShare bar, making it more clear or clearer to the end user what's going on and in which state the bar is, and to improve, let's say, the meeting room experience. And then the last capability that we have enabled for the ClickShare bar, and then more specifically the ClickShare Bar Pro, is that you can now use a USB-C cable that you can hook up to the back side of the ClickShare bar, and basically provide a cable to the table where you add or when you insert this USB-C cable into your laptop. The screen, the peripherals being the camera, the mics, and the speakers will be available to the PC connected through USB-C directly. This does switch away all the peripherals for any other button user or app user. So this is really the wired room dock, the wired conferencing for the ClickShare Bar Pro. It is, in many senses, very similar to the CX50 Gen 2 capabilities, which also has this USB-C wired capability. And with this, I am going to pass the word to my colleague Peter, who is going to tell you everything about the admin experience.
Thank you very much, Gauthier. Hello, everyone. I'm going to walk you through the new features for the IT admin experience. To start, in the previous release, we introduced the installation application that you can use on a handheld device, for which you then can scan a QR code on the base unit to easily register the base unit and to onboard it. In this release, we are continuing in that install application to add some enhancements. The first one is the capability to do a fully offline registration. That means that you can now scan a base unit that's not connected, that's not online, and go through the registration process. Once you then deploy the unit and it comes online, it will pull in the configuration that you made when running through the installation process. That means that you can easily, before you actually deploy the unit, configure one or multiple base units, and that can be very handy for the IT admin, but as well for a reseller that wants to do some pre-configuration for his or her customer. Next, when it's the first time that you scan a base unit, you will create an organization to onboard this unit in. This also happens in the installation application, creating that organization, and in this release, you can actually also add extra administrative users. Of course, when you are creating the organization, you will always be the first administrative user of that system, but now you can easily add your colleagues in that same step, so you don't need to add them later on. As another improvement is that when you are registering the base unit in the install app, you can also now directly configure it in the same steps. So that means assigning it to a template, adding it to a location, and giving the meeting room name, all in the same inline flow, making it very easy for you. Then in XMS Cloud, there is an improvement for the support for the ClickShare Bar. Now you will see when you open a ClickShare Bar Pro inside XMS Cloud that you see the video settings. You can tweak the video settings and also reset it back to its defaults if you would want it to. Next to that, in the XMS Virtual Edge, there is also now support for the ClickShare Bar. In the web configurator, there is also an addition towards video settings, is that through the web configurator, you can edit the settings, but you can edit while having a preview of the camera. How does that happen in a, you could say, in a way that makes sure that everything happens according to the privacy rules? Is that when the meeting is ongoing, of course, you cannot edit the settings at that moment. When there is no meeting ongoing, you can edit the settings, and then there will be a preview that will be turned on. It takes 10 seconds to turn on the preview, in which those 10 seconds, there will be a message displayed in the meeting room. Once those 10 seconds are passed, then you will be able to edit the settings. So the settings will become enabled, and then you can tweak the settings, and you will immediately see the effect. To make sure you don't forget that you have put on the preview. After 10 seconds of inactivity, the preview will be disabled. At that time, you can save the settings that you changed to persist it. Now, how does it look in the meeting room? So when the meeting room is available, you can select to turn on that preview, and that will show the message on the left indicating that you are about to view into the meeting room. And then once you are configuring the settings, you will see the message that's displayed on the right, informing people that would walk into the meeting room that you're currently configuring the video camera settings. And then I will give the word back to Gauthier to tell you more about the new app interface phase-in.
Thank you, Peter. So indeed, for those who were not aware yet, we do have an old version of the app and a new version of the app. The old version of the app is what you find on the ClickShare app today, or the ClickShare button today, and it is the minimized app, which looks like what we call the hamburger menu. It's a small app. The new app, as you can see on the slide, has a somewhat larger UI, which enables us to more clearly and more intuitively show the different functions of the ClickShare app, and also to guide the users in the actions that he or she is aiming to do. So the look and feel is optimized, more intuitive. The app is also faster than the older app, and also enables you, or is enables you to be used in different scenarios, the same as the old app, of course, but with more explanations and with a more intuitive interface. Why are we phasing out the older app? Well, we want to have a unified experience for all users, whether they're using the button or the desktop app. And we see that through the rating that we request on the app and also the feedback that we get, that users are happier, are finding it easier to use when they use the new app. The new app was already available, or is already available, through the preview toggle in the ClickShare app, and it will be enabled or provided by default in the ClickShare firmware 2.20. This is not this firmware, but the next release of the firmware, but we did want to warn you or to highlight this in time. The old app, at least as provided today on the button, will be phased out, so will no longer be supported on the ClickShare base units and in the firmware by end of Q3. So this is where this app or this view will be disabled permanently and will no longer be available to end users. Next up, I do want to give a short update, or at least highlight the Microsoft partnership. This is something that we put in a web, or at least in a press release earlier this year, and I do want to highlight once again what this means and what this brings to you and your users. It means that ClickShare and Barco, or at least ClickShare, are creating and providing a unified vision for at least BYOD users in meeting rooms, where Microsoft is seeing BYOD more and more as a way of having meetings, having conferences in meeting rooms, and where they are working together with us to see how we can optimize that experience and provide the utmost value to both end users and IT admins. Why is this? Well, one, because optimizing the office space is important. It has grown in importance since a couple of years, and providing data and usage data of different setups of different meeting rooms, and also help them optimize these. Microsoft is enabling IT admins to both optimize the office space and to also make it more relevant to its end users. So by supporting the ClickShare systems, or at least recognizing them and collecting data, usage data, when you are using a ClickShare system in a Teams call, Microsoft is able to help you find, let's say, room usage, utilization figures, and other insights. Both Microsoft and, of course, ClickShare see an increased amount of video-enabled rooms. These today make up only 50% of all spaces today, and this is going to grow. This is not going to be equipped with only room systems. We see more and more BYOD, at least Microsoft sees more and more BYOD as a valuable and recognized way of working and as having conferences. So for them also, this is a space that they want to address, that they want to look into, and that they want to optimize for their customers. So I've been talking about the IT manager on one hand, where we want to provide more insights through the Teams Rooms Pro portal, but also for the end user when having a conference in a meeting room through their own device, whether it's BYOD or BYOM you want to call it. Microsoft is working to optimize the Teams client to cater for these type of use cases by, for example, disabling voice isolation, providing extended view, and so on and so on. So this is also where we as ClickShare are helping them or working with them to provide use cases, to provide our insights and optimize this experience for everyone in the meeting room. So what does this partnership look like? Well, today, this is a very first step. It allows us to build the relationship, to create a shared vision, and to be recognized within the Teams ecosystem. We're going to be working together to remove the frictions, both for IT managers and end users, for these BYOD meeting rooms and BYOD meetings in the companies. And as we move forward, we're going to be scaling the partnership, enabling more and more BYOD and BYOM-centric solutions in the market and in the way of working. If you want more details about all of this, the link to the press release will be in the presentation, but you can also find it on the website. That concludes, I would say, the section, but also the majority of the webinar, and I will gladly give the word back to Frauke.
Thank you very much to Gauthier and Peter for walking us through the content of the spring release. Keep an eye out for an invite in the coming weeks for the summer release. We will do a similar webinar. For now, we will leave the line open so you can drop your questions in the Q&A box and we will answer them in writing. You will also receive the link to the deck and the link to the recording. Thank you very much again and speak soon. Have a nice day.